UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Murphy, is taking place this Saturday, April 5th, and today we're going to go over my entire statistical breakdown and overview of the card. It's an okay card. There are a couple sneaky fights on the card, but it's a classic Apex Fight Night. So we're going to start with the opener of Vanessa Demopoulos versus Tatiana Alcinquer. I'm going to go with Tatiana Alcinquer. I think that she might be able to get it done with the takedowns. I'm not really sure. I could see this going to a split decision either way. I'm going to pick her. Probably 29-28 split decision. Maybe unanimous. But, yeah, I think she's going to have a better job with the takedowns. And then on the feet, Demopoulos could do better. But Tatiana Alcinquer likes to spam takedowns. So, I mean, both these women are above 34. Not really any finishing potential. 5'1", 5'2". So not the greatest way to start the card, but yeah, I'm gonna go Tatia Alcincar or whatever you say it. Moving on, Victor Henry versus Pedro Falcao. I'm gonna go with Pedro Falcao, and I'm going through their records. Both these guys have have a mixed bags in the UFC. Victor Henry has a couple wins in the UFC, but none of them really are aged very well. And anytime he comes against anyone who is something, he falls. And Pedro Falcao, I believe he's 1-1 or 0-1 in the UFC. So, but I think that he can get this one done. Moving on, we got Loma Lookboom versus Estela Nunes. I mean, is this even a question? Who's going to win this one? Loma Lookboom is the first and only Thai fighter in the UFC. Estela Nunes is probably the worst fighter in the UFC. She holds a professional record of 6-5, but yet is, still in the sport. So. And she was preparing for Molly McCann, dropped out from injury. Molly McCann goes on and retires, and yeah, not even a question. Loma Lookboom by first round finish. I don't think that Estela Nunes is any good, and she's gonna get beat up, and I think finished either by sub or knockout. Moving on, we have Reese McKee versus Daniel Frunza. Okay, so Reese McKee, he's had 4 fights in the UFC. He's 0-4 in the UFC with 2 separate stints. He left the UFC and he went to Cage Warriors, had 3 fights, 3 wins. Comes back to the UFC, 0-2 again. Daniel Frunza coming off his win on the Contender Series. He gassed his opponent. It was a second round TKO. He spammed 1-2s the whole fight. Decent fighter. I am going to go ahead and pick Reese McKee, though. I think this could be the first time he gets it done. Daniel Frunza showed a little bit signs of gassing in the Contender Series. Now, I know that's the Contender Series, so who knows what improvements he made in his game. But I am going to go with Reese McKee. I think he's going to get his first UFC win this weekend. If not, I think we're never going to see him again in the company. 0-4 in the UFC. He's 13-6, so outside of the organization, he's done very well in Cage Warriors. But inside the organization, he fought Khamzat Chimaev, knocked out. He got knocked out in his next fight, went to Contender Series and lost 2 decisions, coming back to the UFC. So I'm going to pick him to get his first win. I think it's going to happen by decision. I don't see him finishing this fight, and I also don't see Daniel Frunza finishing the fight unless Reese McKee somehow gasses. So, Reese McKee by decision. Moving on, we have Diana Beltipa versus Diane Barbosa. I am going to go with Diane Barbosa. Belbita is 2-5. She's lost twice to Molly McCann, and to be honest, I don't really know other than that. But these girls, again, this is happening at flyweight. So here it does have so Diana Belbita will be a little above her usual weight class. I don't think she's gonna take down this Barbosa, and I don't know. I'm going with Diana Barbosa. That's wrong. Going with Diane Barbosa, so don't follow what you see on the screen. Forgot to fix that. I'm going with Diane Barbosa to win this one. Probably by a decision. Yeah, moving on. Davey Grant versus Daniel Santos. This is one of the sneaky fights on the card. Davey Grant, so underrated. I know his age is 39, but he's had some crazy fights in the UFC. Just absolute brawler. He should be on a 5-fight win streak. He was unlucky to lose a split decision to who did he lose it? I forgot who lost it to. But he lost a split decision. It was Muniz, maybe. He lost a split decision in his second to last fight. He is coming off of a win. Daniel Santos does train with Charles Oliveira at Shoot the Box. He is good, but I think Davy Grant's just better. I don't think Daniel Santos is going to take him down and submit him. I think Davy Grant's going to do better on the feet. So I am going to go with Davy Grant. I could see a late third round TKO or a decision, but I am going to go Davy Grant by late third round TKO. But I'm going to go TKO finish, Davy Grant over Daniel Santos. This is going to be a good fight. I think this is going to be the first one that on this card that we're going to that is worth much tuning into. Before this, maybe, come on and watch this one. You can skip the beginning. Moving on, we have Ode Osborne versus Luis Goulet. I'm never going to pick Ode Osborne to win a fight. He lost to Ronald Rodriguez, which is aged very terribly, coming off of Ronald Rodriguez's last fight where he kind of got fraud checked. But at the same time, his opponent, Luis Goulet, I didn't watch his Contender Series fight. I don't know much about him. He is 10-0, but he's shorter. He's got a 7-inch reach disadvantage. He's not going to shoot for takedowns. He did win a split decision in his Contender Series win. So is this just a layup for Ode Osborne? Could be. He did almost have Ronald Rodriguez out of there in a triangle in the first round when he fought him. Ode Osborne did, but I am in the end just going to go with Luis Goulet. I'm going to trust that Ode Osborne can't win a fight, or he hasn't in a while. He took CJ Vergara to a decision. So. Yeah, we've seen Ode Osborne. He's 12-8. He loses this when he's done the UFC. So this pick could age terribly. I'm gonna go Luis Goulet by decision. If Ode Osborne schools him on the feet, I'm not gonna be surprised. I don't know much about Luis Goulet. He could be sick on the feet, or he could have great takedowns. I didn't. Did I put that? Yeah, no. I'm gonna go with Luis Goulet by decision in the end. Moving on to Torres Finney versus Robert Valentin. Torres Finney has the craziest build in the UFC. I mean, I'm sure you've heard about him. He came from football. Robert Valentin came from the Tough. He lost to Ryan Loder by a crucifix position in the second round to lose the Ultimate Fighter. It was a tough way to lose because I think Robert Valentin is pretty good. Torres Finney took 3 chances on the Contender Series to get his UFC contract. He is 10-0, 5'8", 185. He's just young, 26, compared to Valentin. He's 30. But I do think Torres Finney has the potential to take Valentin down. That's something that we saw Loder, but at the same time, Loder is a better wrestler than I think Finney is. But and I thought that his loss to Valentin's loss to Loder was a little, I don't want to say unlucky, because he was getting dominated in the takedowns, but it was just an unfortunate ending to it. So I'm going to go with Torres Finney to win this one. And this pick could also age terribly, but I just haven't seen enough out of Robert Valentin. He had that crazy knockout on the Ultimate Fighter, but Torres Finney, he got a knockout, he got a submission, he got a decision win on the Contender Series, and I think he could. I think he's ready. I think he's hungry for this. I'm not saying Robert Valentin isn't hungry, but I am going to go with Torres Finney to impose his game. Probably going to be by decision. But I can also see Robert Valentin. I don't think he's going to knock him out with that build, but who knows. But I'm going to go Torres Finney by decision. Moving on, we have Brad Tavares versus the GM3 Gerald Meerschaert. Your favorite fighter, Gerald Meerschaert, the man with the best mustache at the UFC. This one is tough to pick. Both of these guys are 37. Both of them have ups and downs in their careers. And both of them, I don't know. It's a tough one. Crazy they haven't fought before. But there's one stat that I want to point out before I make this pick. So Brad Tavares is, I don't know why people think of him as I don't think people do, but he has not finished a fight since 2018. He's gone beaten, or he has been knocked out, or he's won by decision. He's never finished a fight since 2018. His last knockout was in 2018. He's 1-4 in his last 5. Okay, so there's Brad Tavares. Gerald Meerschaert hasn't won a decision since 2013, and he is 1-1 in his last 2. He just coming off a loss to Renner to Ritter. So I am going to go with GM3 to get this one done. I think that he has the more finishing potential in the fight. I don't think But at the same time, I don't see Brad Tavares getting taken down. But Brad Tavares' last one was Chris Weidman coming off his leg injury. Excuse me. So I don't think it was such a tough one to pick. They're both old. They both have similar reaches. Obviously, GM3s, but he's a jiu-jitsu guy. Is he going to get Brad Tavares down, or is Brad Tavares going to kind of win a 29-28 decision over him? I could see that happening, either splitting it, maybe a round 2 or round 3 going as a toss-up. I mean, I could see Brad Tavares coming out in the first round, picking his shots, landing. GM3 can't get him down. Round 2, GM3 takes him down, gets him to the ground, doesn't sub him, so then it's 1-1. And and then the round 3 is very competitive, both of them swinging on the feet. 29-28 decision, split decision. I can see it going to Brad Tavares, but in this game, I'm going to pick GM3 just based off of his finishing potential, and Brad Tavares has no finishing potential. So I'm going to go GM3. Again, this could be a bad pick. But I probably just called the fight right there, so we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, GM3 by decision or submission, but most likely decision. Moving on, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Martin Bodai. Martin Bodai's record, I think, is a little deceiving. Let me go. He's not deceiving, but I don't think he's fought any heavyweights that you think like, oh, this guy. He's not fought like a. Who's a good comparison? Who's he? Someone who is just like a. I have to think about this one, but I think Kennedy, someone who's like someone who can knock him out with one punch. Obviously it's heavyweight, so anyone can get knocked out with one punch. But he hasn't fought a guy that you're like, okay, any punch that lands, this guy's going out. Like, Tom Aspinall's such a bad example because he's the interim champ, should be champ, but like someone like that where you're like, oh, this fight is going to be over in a minute if you're not careful. And I think Kennedy Nzechukwu, I don't think he's Tom Aspinall, but I do think he holds more of a potential to finish in his hands. And now he's moving up to heavyweight, taking on these, Budai's not like the fattest of the heavyweights, but not like an athletic heavyweight. Martin Budai's coming off of 2 split decisions. I mean, he's had other fights, but he has 2 split decisions. One versus Andrei Arlovski, that was his last fight. Split decision in a split division versus Lucas Bresky, who Kennedy Nzechukwu just knocked out in his last fight. Another thing, Budai has 0 finishing potential. He has like a couple finishes in his career. It's not been a while since we've seen him finish a fight. So I'm gonna go with Kennedy Nzechukwu to win this one, and I believe it's gonna get done by knockout, first or second round knockout. I don't think Martin Budai is gonna pose any threat to him on the feet. He's taller, lengthier, and I think he's pretty good. So Kennedy Nzechukwu, the heavyweight run is continuing. So take him to win that one. Moving on, we have Cortavius Romanius versus Kang Ho Lee. So Cortavius, he lost his first Dana White Contender Series appearance, but in 30 seconds KO to Roman Tavares, and then he won another one, and then he lost his last fight to Gaston Bolaños, the knockoff Ilia Topuria. Kang Ho Lee, here's the thing, all these guys coming out of Asia, they fight all these Asian guys, and we don't see many we don't see anyone else on their record that I can compare to Cortavius Romanius. Athletic, classic black athletic, if you know what I mean. Kang Ho Lee, he is coming off of a win versus Zhao Long, who is actually pretty good. The height differential, 5'8" versus 5'4". Cortavius Romanius is a short, explosive bantamweight. It's tough. I've never watched the Kang Ho Lee fight. I did watch Cortavius Romanius' loss to Gustavo Bolaños, but I am going to go with Kang Ho Lee. I think that if his record is, it's just hard to go off, but if his record is anything, and I think his height advantage is going to be huge, even though they have a similar reach, his height advantage, and I think he's going to be able to implement his game. I don't think Cortavius Romanius is necessarily going to be able to take him down, and if he does, Kang Ho Lee is going to work on the ground. So I am going to go with Kang Ho Lee, most likely by decision. I don't see this one getting finished, but I also maybe could see. I'm going to go with this one by decision. So, yeah, Kang Ho Lee by decision. Moving on to the co-main, Pat Sabatini versus Joe Anderson Brito. This is another tough one. I am going to go with Joe Anderson Brito. And, I think that age is going to play a big part of this. And Pat Sabatini, he is coming off of a layoff, I believe. No, maybe not. Oh no, he's coming off a win over Jonathan Pierce. I think it was in like September, or maybe not. Brito's coming off of his loss versus William Gomez in September, which I thought he won watching that fight. But both of these guys have fought Diego Lopez. Pat Sabatini got knocked out. Jonas Brito in the Contender Series, but that is a different Diego Lopez that the two of them fought, I believe. I think Diego Lopez has improved every time we've seen him. He fought Jonas Brito in 21 and Sabatini in 23. So that's a 2-year difference in the Diego Lopez they fought. But I am going to go Jonas Brito. I think he's going to be able to dog it down more. He did kick a hole in, what was his name? Was it Nathaniel Wood? Might have been Nathaniel. No, it wasn't Nathaniel Wood. No, it wasn't him. He kicked a hole in someone's leg in, it was in Manchester? Or no, in Brazil at UFC 301. They literally had to stop the fight because his leg wouldn't stop bleeding. I think Jonas Brito got that dog in him. Now, Pat Sabatini does too, but he also fights out of Boston, which has not been doing very well recently. That gym in Boston, I forget the name of it. Can't think it off the top of my head. But I am going to go with Jonas Brito. I think that he has now they're both good wrestlers. I think he has a better stand-up, and I don't think Pat Sabatini is going to implement his ground game on Jonas Brito in the fight. So I'm going to go with him. I could see it being a second round, a finish, a knockout, or a decision. But I'm going to go with Jonas Brito by knockout. Maybe I'll go by decision. Yeah, we'll go Jonas Brito by decision. He's not going to get submitted. He hasn't been submitted since his pro MMA debut where he lost by submission. Pat Sabatini's not going to submit him. And it's been a while since Sabatini's knocked anyone out. So, yeah, I'm going to go Jonas Brito. I am going to get this one done by decision, I think. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's also a second-round finish. Moving on to the main event, we have Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. Josh Emmett makes his comeback to the octagon after a long layoff since knocking out none other than Bryce Mitchell in December of 2023 on the Covington Edwards card, where he knocked him out by brutal fashion. Obviously, you've seen that KO. Lerone Murphy's coming off of a win versus Dan Ige after his win over Edson Barbosa on a fight night main event. I wasn't super impressed by his win over Dan Ige. I thought that it left some questions to be answered in his game, and I think someone a little bit better like Josh Emmett's going to exploit, because I don't think Lerone Murphy's taking Josh Emmett down like he did Dan Ige to win that fight. And Lerone Murphy, something else about him that isn't, and he's not the most popular fighter, and I think a reason is because he doesn't have any highlight reels. Yeah, he had a great win over Edson Barbosa where he used his fight IQ and picked him apart over 5 rounds and won. But you have someone like Josh Emmett where all it takes is one shot and you're done, your lights out, your night's over. I don't think he's faced something like that before in his career, and I think that his wrestling isn't going to be able to take Josh Emmett down. I don't think Lerone Murphy's on the level of someone like Ilia Topuria when they fought Josh Emmett. When he made everyone believers of him in that fight and gave himself a number one contender to fight Volkanovski for the belt. Lerone Murphy's nowhere near that. So I am going to go with Josh Emmett. I think he gets this one done by KO. 5 rounds is a long time to be in there with Josh Emmett, and I don't think Lerone Murphy's like Ilia Topuria. I don't think he's slick like that. And Josh Emmett's old, but I do think that he's gonna get this one done. I don't know. Lerone Murphy is taller. No, I'm going to go with Josh Emmett. I'm going to trust the power. I'm going to trust what he's been saying. He took a long time off. He said that he's been using it to heal a lot of injuries he's had, so he should be fresh. And I don't really think ring rust is going to affect him as much this stage in his career. He's been in there with so many guys so many times in the UFC and in profile fights, and he's found his shot. Now people forget, he does have some decisions on his record, more than you think from what's being considered the hardest hitter 145er after Jeremy Stevens. But I am going to go with Josh Emmett by, I think, a 3rd round TKO. I could see happening, but he could catch him at any moment in the fight. So, and if it does go to decision, it probably will favor Lerone Murphy. So if this goes to decision, Lerone Murphy probably 48-47. But I don't know. It's a tough one to predict, but I am going to trust Josh Emmett. I'm going to trust the power. And, it's going to be got its ups and downs this weekend. There's a couple good fights that you should keep your eye out for. If you're going to be watching this card, I probably won't watch the first 3 or 4. Maybe I will. I'll throw them on later. But I'll probably tune in starting with the Davey Grant fight and then watch from there. So let me know what you guys think about the predictions and breakdown down in the comments and who you see winning this main event this weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.